My name is Maryellen Schroeder. I am the Director of Career Development, and I'm just going to have my coworkers introduce themselves to you. Rebekah?
Sure. I'm Rebekah Wright. I'm the Internship Manager, she, her pronouns.
And I'm Meg Gatterman, the Student Outreach Manager, she, her pronouns.
All right, thanks, Meg. So the three of us are going to offer you information today, and we have a little PowerPoint presentation. So if we could just go on to the next slide, Meg. And we're going to take ourselves off camera so you can focus on our presentation. So what we're going to cover today is an introduction to student employment at MassArt, things that you need to keep in mind about how it works here. Real basic resume and cover letter information. You're going to need to have your current resume on Handshake ready to submit to a job that you're interested in, a student employment job, whether it's on campus or through CACP. How to look for opportunities on Handshake, and also how to set up a job alert so you can get a notification when new student jobs are posted. Next slide. So the first thing I want you to know is about some terminology that we use in relationship to student employment. Many of you are probably eligible for federal work study, and it's abbreviated to FWS often. It's part of your financial aid package, and it may look like, $1,000, $1,500 as that amount that you are offered. So the way that federal work study, it's actually one of the funding sources for a position. It is not a loan, you don't have to pay it back, but it gives you an opportunity to apply for positions that are open to work study students. And typically, let's say it's $1,000, you would use $500 in the fall semester, and then the additional $500, the remaining amount in the spring semester. Trust fund is just a term that's used here. It's basically, it could be called non-work study, it could be called per diem. It just means that the student position is being funded through a departmental budget. You do not need to be work study eligible to apply. If you have federal work study and you see a position that is a trust fund position, you are certainly welcome to apply. And if you don't have federal work study as part of your financial aid package here at MassArt, you are certainly welcome to apply for trust fund positions. So those are two terms that you're going to hear related to working on campus: work study and trust fund. Next slide. So the other thing that I want you to be aware of, this is a very practical tip. You're going to be, and Meg's going to go into detail about this. On-campus positions means that they're on campus, on the MassArt campus. And experiential learning is the filter that you're going to use on your Handshake account to look for positions with the Center for Art and Community Partnerships. And that's CACP. And some of you may have attended the sessions that they offered earlier this afternoon. They had two presentations. They were both the same, but they're a very popular employer of students, and they work with organizations off campus. Next slide. So if you were on the MassArt website and you went into the CACP part of the MassArt website, Spark the Art Mobile and Partnership Works are the two programs where students are typically out in the community. So Spark, it's basically a van that travels around the city, and the students who work with them are leading art workshops, programs, and special events to help build communities. And they're these partnerships are typically collaborations with schools and libraries, community organizations, and sometimes other artists as well. And Partnership Works is a program where you're working with community organizations as teachers, designers, illustrators, and in other positions. So they have listed probably about 23 open jobs, and they hire multiple students, and those are current listings now on your Handshake account. So be sure to look at both on-campus opportunities as through on-campus student employment and also in experiential learning for CACP opportunities. Next slide. So hours of employment. Typically, work-study positions and trust fund positions are about 5 to 10 hours a week. And you cannot work more than 20 hours in a week. There are many students on campus, and there aren't as many positions available to all students. So we want as many students as possible to have an opportunity to work on campus. So just a tip, typically the hours are business hours, and that would be Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That said, some positions like that may have evening hours. Student development, for instance, typically has evening hours where students can come into the office, and the library might have positions where you're working on the weekend. So it's very important that you read the job descriptions very carefully, but in general, the hours of 9 to 5 Monday through Friday are very kind of typical, work schedule where you would be working your 5 to 10 hours a week. Another tip that I would offer to you, which would be helpful to people that you're interviewing with, is that please tell them when you are free to work. Don't send your class schedule and that they have to kind of figure out when they might offer a time for you to be in the office, because the time that you're not in your class or studio, you may be, working on homework or doing your, creating your work. You might be commuting somewhere. So because of the fact that you are not in class or studio doesn't mean you're necessarily free. So you need to tell people, these are the times that I would be free to work in this position if they want to offer that to you. As I said, you're not working more than 20 hours a week. And international students, Maggie Sherland is the International Student Advisor in the International Education Center. They are located on the 8th floor of the tower. And she should be your first stop about any sort of work that you would like to do, whether it's on campus, and she can explain, what will be needed to abide by your student visa. Next slide. So our job listings are actually on Handshake, which is obviously where you've been participating in this student employment showcase. And as you know, it's your MassArt email username and password that allows you to get into your Handshake account. And you can always find the portal on our website at massart.edu/career development. If you have a problem with your account, please do not create another one. Just contact us at careerdevelopment@massart.edu if you need any help or if you have any questions about accessing Handshake or any questions that you might have for applying for any of the student positions. Next slide. So I'm going to hand it over to Rebekah now. As I mentioned, resumes are needed to apply for positions, and she's going to give you more information about that.
Hello, everyone. So yes, when you start applying for positions, most of them, if not all, will ask for a resume. And you may already have a resume, but it's helpful to give it an update to just make it a little more relevant to what hiring managers will be looking for when they're hiring for student positions. So just some basic information. You want to make sure obviously your contact information is on your resume, and that's your name, your email, your phone number, just so if they do want to call you in for an interview, we can get a hold of you. And also, as many of you may be first years, it's a good time to update your education and add MassArt onto your resume. If you have previous college experience, make sure to include that. And you can also include high school. You can include honors and awards, that's optional if you have them. And then it's also good to make a section for relevant skills. And relevant skills really depends on where you might apply. It could be, you're applying for Tech Central and you have some computer skills, or that you're applying for a job that asks for Adobe Creative Suite, so you want to include that. So relevant skills is just kind of noting any skills you have that might be helpful for the person you're applying to know that you have. And then the other important section to have is experience. And experience can include many different types of experiences. Jobs is an obvious one, but you can also put activities, sports, a volunteer experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be paid. Really what experience is, it just kind of is a way to kind of demonstrate what you've done. It also doesn't have to be art related. And I'll kind of go into a little more detail on, why it's good to include all types of experience. Next slide. So when you're kind of filling out your resume, there are certain things that all employer, whether they're art and design related, whether it's, retail, restaurant, on-campus employment, there's certain things that employers in general always seek, and that's called transferable skills. And a good example of that is people skills, whether you're working, in the MassArt bookstore, or you're working at Tech Central, or you're working in a graphic design job. People skills is kind of something that's very universal. So it doesn't necessarily matter whether what your background is. Usually in some level, whether you're doing volunteer activities or a job to kind of support yourself, you're using people skills. So that's kind of why it's good to kind of include these kind of what experience you have, because you can demonstrate that. Other transferable skills: listening, understanding, communication, planning, organization, time management, technical skills. And sometimes if you have leadership skills, like maybe you're a shift manager at a job, you can include that as well. But these are things that kind of come up at every single type of experience you may have or will apply for, whether it's art related, whether it's just something to kind of support yourself. So it's good to kind of highlight this. Next slide. So when I say highlight your experience, a good way to do that on a resume is to just kind of give some bullet points that are just very easy to read when a hiring manager at MassArt is looking at your resume. So I highlighted the transferable skills. So assisting customers, that's customer service, it's people skills. That's something it's good to kind of include, even if you're not necessarily applying for another cafe. It's still just kind of showing that you kind of worked in an environment where you had to have those people skills. Coordinating team members in a busy cafe, maybe you have a shift manager experience and you had to kind of coordinate with your coworkers. That's something you can highlight as well, because every job you apply for will also have coworkers that you'll be working with. Communication, again, like if you're communicating to customers, to coworkers, you can highlight that as well. So this is a great way to kind of demonstrate some of these skills. And you'll start noticing as you read some of the student employment job listings that these transferable skills are often what's being asked for. Just think about your experience and how you can kind of highlight these experiences that might transfer to wherever you're going, you're applying for next. Next slide. So what we do have for you, obviously, there's different types of resumes and you may already have one, but we do have a resume template that is a Google Doc that is a good starting point as you kind of start looking for on-campus positions. So I'll show you where this is, but this is kind of what you want to aim for. One page is just generally a standard. You want to just kind of include the most relevant experience and just something that's easy for someone to skim quickly to just get a sense of who you are and what experience you have had so far. Next slide. So I'm just going to touch on cover letters quickly. Some places you apply for may ask for it. Some places may just say, email me a resume, but want to put a message in the email. The term cover letter is commonly used, but sometimes, you can just say email of interest, message of interest. Generally, when you send your resume, it's just good practice to kind of send a message with it. And a cover letter is an opportunity to introduce yourself and connect to the role you're applying for. And it's polite because you're not there in person to introduce your resume. So you're sending an email or a message kind of in place of being able to introduce yourself. So your goal for a cover letter or email is to just introduce yourself, highlight relevant skills and experience. And when I say relevant skills, if you're applying for a job that says that they're looking for someone who understands Microsoft Word and Excel, you can say, I worked in Office before, I understand Microsoft Office. So you can kind of highlight something like that. Or if they ask for Adobe Creative Suite, you can say, I have some experience with Photoshop and Illustrator. So you're just kind of connecting to their position and kind of saying what experience that you have that they were asking for. It's also a time where you can explain why you're interested in the position. You can say, I'm really interested in the library. I really like kind of books and organization. You can kind of explain that. Then it's also a time, like if they say, let us know when you're available to work, that's something you can also address in a cover letter, like I am free Wednesday afternoons. So that's another thing that you can kind of use the cover letter or email. And then you always want to just thank them and include your contact information, because if they really like your resume and they like your email, they're going to want to get in touch with you. So just make sure you don't send any message without kind of, giving a way for them to get in touch. Next slide. So as Maryellen said, our sort of home base online is massart.edu/career development. And we're going to show you where the resources are. I'll have Meg kind of click into the live website. So for cover letter resources, resume resources, you're going to go to the resources section. And this page is a bunch of stuff that is available whenever you need it. There is jump to a topic, and you'll see the resumes and cover letters topic in there. And that's going to take you to kind of our resumes and cover letter section. So there's a cover letter guide. So I briefly went over the cover letter. That will give you more examples. There's one for applying for on-campus jobs, and there's also an example for applying for internships. So that's just in one place. There's a top 10 resume tips. And this is just a quick at a glance, just some top 10 tips on how to kind of make a really tight resume. And this is a great one because it'll just show you great things to do, great things you want to avoid. So this is just like an easy thing to kind of take a look at. And then back on the resources page, we also have resume and cover letter templates. And this is, like I said, these are Google Docs, and you can copy them, put in your own experience. It'll give you some ideas on how to format a resume. So it's just a lot of resources there that you can use as you kind of update your materials. So I'm going to turn it over to Meg, who's going to give you a few more tips on finding opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Rebekah. So I'm going to stay on the page here because that will allow us to get straight to Handshake. So let's go to Handshake and we'll log in. And this will bring us to our profile page, well, the home page. And then from here, we're going to go to our profile page icon here. And that's how we can get to, to get our documents area. So we can upload our resumes and cover letters. So let's go to add a new document. And then select from computer. And I have a student resume here. And you can see that it'll give you a preview of your resume, and you can add the document. Oh, it's already here. So let's go into that document. And the cool thing is you can build your profile from resume. So when you click that, it'll take certain sections of your resume and put them on your profile. So you can see that some of this stuff is already there, but you can kind of edit and delete if necessary. And so now that we have all this in our profile, we can edit this and finesse as much as you want. It's really about the idea this is a live document and that you can go back and update it when you need to. So let's just add that one. And then now that we've figured that out, we can go to the jobs area to find out how to use the filters and look for positions. So after going to the jobs tab, and the first thing you need to do is go to all filters. And then we'll expand it to plus more. And then we'll select on-campus and experiential learning. And experiential learning is where CACP is, as Maryellen mentioned earlier. Just be aware that there's only a few positions on campus right now. However, you're going to start seeing more positions being posted between now and the end of September. But we post positions throughout the year. So one way to keep on top of when the freshest positions come out is that you can be notified with a job alert. So let's gonna go over here to the side here, and it says don't miss out. You can save your search here, and this will give you an option to save and give you notifications during the week. So this search has been saved. So we're always posting new opportunities, and be sure to set up that job alert so you will get those notifications. So let's go down here, and you can see that some of these have a fresh label. So this means that it was just posted. So just keep an eye out on those labels there. So let's go to our first example here, which is fundraising events design assistant. So starting at the top, we'll look at the application deadline, and that's when the job is going to expire from the system. But you should be applying as soon as you know of that job. So that's good to keep in mind. So also the estimated salary. So this is the student employment positions are minimum wage, which is currently $14.25 an hour. So let's go down further. You can see this is a remote position. And let's go down more and make sure to open up the full job description. So that should be one of the first things you should do. You should also read carefully because this is where they're going to, where you're going to see whether it's for a junior or senior year, and if you have to be in that major. It's very important to make note of this. So if a student has most of the skills, then we definitely encourage them to apply. So under the qualifications, we can see experience in Google Suite, Microsoft Office. So if you know how to use Microsoft Word or Excel, this might be in your background. So you can maybe also find some of these in your previous volunteer or job descriptions. Maybe your attention to detail, and we can see that is listed here. So strong attention to detail is what the second bullet down is. So this is very important to take note of. So if you have some of these, you can check them off the skills as, because this is what the employer is looking for. So if you have transferable skills here, that's what you're going to pay attention to. So let's go down further. And about MassArt. So we're going to expand this. This is where you would typically find out what a company does. So here is MassArt. We decided to divide MassArt into 7 themes to kind of help students understand all the different areas and everything we do here. So MassArt as a university, this is the role that we play as a university. So read this so that you understand why this job is showing up under this theme. So let's go to another example, the photo cage lab monitor. You can see right away in this highlighted area that you need to be a current junior or senior in photo. So not all of the jobs will have highlighted sections, so just be sure to read the job description carefully so that you know that you're fitting into what is needed for this position. So if you have that skill set, that transferable skill set that Rebekah had talked about earlier, you've already met 2 of the qualifications that are here. So always be sure to go through the qualifications, and if you have some of those experiences, you can talk about those later to back up your background. So maybe some of you are a junior or senior photo major and have experience working with the Adobe Creative Suite or Adobe Creative Cloud. So that might be in your background. And if that's true, that's one of the responsibilities that you have in this job. You should mention that and make sure it's on your resume and in your cover letter. So when you write your cover letter or your resume, you should make an appointment with us and we can do a critique. So let's check out the appointments area. So let's go to Career Center. Appointments. Schedule new appointment. Student appointments. And internship resume cover letter. I mean, that's currently where we have the internship, the resume and cover letter critiques, but that might change down the road. So you can kind of see the availability that Rebekah has, and you can click on one of the blocks and make an appointment. So let's go back to the slides. So that's about it. Feel free to turn on the video or unmute and we can go through any questions in the chat or any questions you might have.
All right, I have a question.
Sure.
All right, so I currently have a full-time job right now, although like a problem that I have, like the problem that I have with it is that I'm going to college so I could get a better job, and I'd like to get my foot in the door. So through here, like Handshake, I can get a sort of better job.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
kind of jobs do we list through Handshake?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. We have a number of different art and design related jobs, both part-time and full-time. And every Thursday, you're going to see an email being sent that is going to highlight the ones that have come into the office. We also list internships, and Rebekah can offer more information about the internship program that you can earn academic credit. And that is a great way for you to kind of transition into the career that you're interested in and get, some related work experience. So obviously we're focused on student employment here.
Right.
But we do have other listings on Handshake, and it's set up in very similar, in the same way.
Right, of course. I pretty much just want to get a job that is better in the direction that I'm going in right now.
Okay, so Andrew, what I would suggest is that it might be helpful. What year are you now?
This is my first year at MassArt. However, I'm a transfer student, and I pretty much most of my academics have already been like completed, and I'm just entering in through the animation door. So there's probably like one freshman class that didn't qualify, and I'm taking that now. So I guess technically I count as a sophomore.
All right, so what I would suggest is for you to make a general career counseling appointment with me, and we can talk about your previous background. Rebekah is also a very good source as well if you would like to pursue internships.
Okay, so do I just email career development or something?
No, you use the appointment section of Handshake that Meg had just shown, and this session is being recorded, so you'll be able to go in and see it and go back to that section. It's under Career Center. Rebekah, did you want to offer any other information? We might have a few transfer students in the audience about the importance of internships.
Oh, she's muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to say there's actually a session for transfers coming up, I believe on the 16th, that I will be talking to you all about internships, because you're in many transfer students are in a unique position where they might want to kind of get a jump on internships now. But I also am open for appointments. So if that's something you're thinking of, I would, definitely reach out. I'll also put my email in the chat.
Great. So Meg, I think you're monitoring the questions that we're getting in the chat.
Yes, a few.
Okay.
Just want to make sure also that I know that there's a filter for work study jobs, but I know that there was a student that asked, how do you know it's a work study? How do you know if the job is a work study job?
I would say the majority of the positions are work study eligible. It's the ones that mention trust fund or that you do not need to be work study eligible. Those are the ones that are unique.
Because another person says, how can I tell whether or not I qualify for work study jobs?
That's a great question. And your first stop should be the Office of Student Financial Assistance, which is the financial aid office. They're located on the 8th floor of Tower. And I would stop in there first.
And we have another question that says, I know that the mailroom assistant isn't a part of the work study. Can I do that job as a work study job?
So positions, if you cannot work more than for any positions that you accept, that are offered to you and accept, you cannot work more than 20 hours a week for all of them combined. So you need to be careful about that. The work study position, if you're applying for work study and trust fund positions or anything through experiential learning, with your, through your Handshake account, and you're applying with your resume, and typically the next step is an interview, and then the hiring manager decides which students they feel are best suited for the positions. So just be aware that there are restrictions on the number of hours that you can work in student employment. I hope that answered the question. And if you want to know if a position, again, we don't have access to or the time to be looking at individual job descriptions now, but I would encourage everybody to read them carefully.
And this person said that they thought the mailroom was only work study.
Again, read the job description. We obviously don't have the job listing right here now, but I would say check the job listing for information about that. Well, Career Development does have a YouTube channel, and all of the recordings from today for the Student Employment Showcase will be there, and they will have the SES for Student Employment Showcase 2022 as the way that you will be able to find them. And Andre Suarez, who is the person in charge, the hiring manager for the mailroom position, he gave a presentation today. So if you didn't have a chance to see that one, if you weren't scheduled for it, please watch the recording and he'll give you more information.
Could we have a link to the YouTube page that would have the recording?
Yes, and we have asked all the hiring managers, all the representatives from the showcase to send us their recordings, and then Meg will be posting them, but we just need a little time to kind of get them up. But we will send out an announcement to let you know that they're available.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? And feel free to unmute yourself if. That's easier. Or put it in the chat, that's fine too. So it looks like, I think Meg just put our YouTube channel in the chat. Thank you, Meg. Okay, well, I think we've gone a little bit over our 30-minute allotment, but we are happy to stay if you'd like to ask any questions. Anything else? All right. Well, if there are no additional questions, we would like to thank you very much for attending our presentation. Watch for the link to the recordings, and good luck with finding your position. If you have any questions, contact Career Development. And we have given you the website in this presentation, the massart.edu/career development. And you're very welcome. Thank you for participating in the showcase today.